Hello, friends. How are you today? Today I thought that I would share with you another way that I look at frequencies and energy. I have another blog, which I actually started before my other blogs. I always knew that I wanted to start by talking about energy, but based upon some things that were going on for me personally, I found that focusing on this other area was much more happy for me. I needed something to lift my spirits at that time in my life. I look at the sky. I take photographs of interesting patterns and what I would call a frequency shift. You know, it's interesting because I don't know if you've ever seen this, but sometimes when you'll take a photograph, there'll be strange light in it, or sometimes the light will shift partway through. I've always been interested in what's beyond our sight. That's the first thing in the non-physical. I've always been good at pattern recognition, and I have been trained at pattern recognition. And I just have always been an out-of-the-box thinker, so things don't have to be what I've been taught in a book. When I was a kid, I played outside all the time. And then when I was in school, I always had to walk to school. I have a lot of time that I've spent looking at the sky and the clouds. And starting around 2009, certain things happened that caused me to realize that the sun looked different, the sky looked different, the clouds were different shapes. Like, what is going on? So, in a nutshell, then I started taking photos. And then I started just showing my photos to random people on the street. And then I thought, maybe I should start a blog and find people who are interested in this topic. Although people sometimes would drive by or walk by and ask me what I was taking photos of. That was always fun. And I view the variations in color in the sky. There's a frequency base, right, to all of these things, to color in the sky, to how the light shines at different times, and so on. I don't think there's any conclusions that I can make. I can just make observations, wonder, and then put it in my file, which is quite large. So one day I drove around the curve and I was looking at the sky and I was like, wait, what is that? I saw an oval, right? That's an oval right there. It's basically an oval right here. And then the other thing that I saw was these, lines. Those were the first things that I saw. And I was like, wow, that is cool. And not only that, but the oval was like really well defined. Okay, this is really cool. But first, let me take you back out. The photos for this will be on this blog, and I'll link the article below. So let's just zoom in here. Can you see how distinct it is? It's really, there's a hard edge here. There's a hard edge here. And there's really a clear edge here. And can you see here? It appears that there's an object. Okay, and if this is an object, it looks like you can see through it to see the continuing cloud pattern that would be on the other side of it. Theoretically, if this was solid, it would be blocking our view. So over time, I came to the conclusion that there was cloaking technology. And then I did a whole bunch of research on it over the years. And there on this blog, I do have several articles on cloaking, and one discussing technology, although I think the last time I updated that was about 2 years ago, so I'm sure it's very much further ahead. If you've looked at any of the advanced videos that you can find about cloaking technology, some of them that I looked at were from companies that made that stuff, one in particular, which now I can't find anymore. But I haven't looked that hard, but I lost track of it. This ability to have this sort of a continuation of image is part of the technology. At any rate, I just thought, wow, this is really cool. So I did what any reasonable person in my position that sees an oval in the sky would do. I took a bunch of pictures. So now I was looking at this one, and I was looking at it with my friend Alex, and my friend Alex goes, oh my gosh, do you see that line? And I was like, Oh, goodness, you're right. Now, can you see it? I'm going to show you the versions where I shifted lighting in the photograph, which saturated the colors so that you can see these things better. But first, I want to show you just the original photographs of the naked eye. And sometimes you have to let it be smaller. Like, for example, here you can probably now see a dark line going this way. It was really interesting because we really took a while to look at this, and we were trying to figure out if the beam went beyond the cloud, but no, it appeared to be going to this cloud here. In at least one of the photos, this area here, and I will use this, was very much triangle shaped to me. I don't know if I'll find that photo, but in the ones I'm showing you, hopefully I'll see it. But it looked like there was another, kind of a directional beam here that was going up to, I don't know, is there a cloud here, or is it going up to this cloud? And then, now, let's see if you can see this. Can you see the end here? Look at this. I mean, look, it looks like one of my pull toys that were made out of rubber that had shapes like this. But look at this. Can you see there? It looks like there's an opening here that's open and something's emitting here. Now, often when Alex and I in the past used to look at these photos, we were looking at, is there propulsion and is this emitting from propulsion? Now, that's a possibility because see, there does seem to be an oval opening here that's kind of peeled outward like lips or like there's a curvature. That's what it looks like to me here. There's a depth to whatever this part is. But now, unfortunately, I did not get a picture of this, okay? Well, what we did was we drove to like this high part of the road, which took quite a little while. And I was hoping that once we got to the high part of the road, I'd be able to look right at this from another angle and from much higher up. But unfortunately, it was completely gone in fog at that point. But the really interesting thing is that the entire sky, all the clouds had all these lines in them. Coincidence? I don't know. So that's what I was wondering, is this emitting some kind of vibrations? I thought that was an interesting question. So, because it seemed like, is there a beam here? Is it going at angles? I don't know if there's a purpose why, you'd have a beam going at this angle and then at that angle, almost 90 degrees. Oh, maybe it's measuring or assessing something in the atmosphere or in the cloud structure. And then perhaps it's emitting something that is causing frequency lines in the sky, or maybe just the operation of this object might cause a vibration, like leave a wake behind it like a boat does. This is the original photo, and the only thing that I've changed is I have adjusted the lighting, and I adjusted the lighting to pop phenomena. So now you can clearly see right here, you can clearly see, clearly see here, I'll use a little hand. See that? And you can see that something's happening with this cloud. Isn't that fascinating? I bet you guys might like this. Because you can see the shape of the cloud, okay? It's broken up here, but that's actually in a line with this other beam. So here it's a particular shape, but then here where the beam goes into it, it's broken up a little bit. Isn't that interesting? So I'm just making observations. I don't have any conclusions. Okay. Please be discerning in your comments, because if they aren't discerning, I will have to delete them. So I really just want to share this with you so that you can see it. Okay, so here's the other angled beam. Now you can see here actually that we could really see the ridging here, but now you can really see it here as well. And it does seem to, this cloud. Okay, look at this cloud. Look how the substance of this cloud, and then in line with this beam, there's like a little poof. Let's look at this closer. I do not know what that is. It's interesting. Okay, so interesting. Now this one kind of shows the triangle shape here. See that right there? Goes there's the point of the triangle, and then here it's almost like it goes, two little points, like two bits in the back of the tail, if it is a triangle of the tail. All right, now this is phenomenal. Look at this oval. I hope that you can see it well on the video. Maybe I'll make it a little less. Can you see it? It's like you're looking through water at something, right? And this is what I talked about frequencies. This is what I talked about frequencies. Can you? It's just slightly shifted from what the eye can see, and you really, really can see this part of whatever it is here, and then this kind of goes into the clouds, but it looks like it's an oval like this. It's absolutely fascinating and beautiful. Now, here's what I wanted to share with you, because I had a different friend do a blind reading of this object for me, and using the consciousness scale. And it wasn't quite what you would expect a light ship, like if it was a very high expanded consciousness to have, but it was still pretty high in terms of consciousness levels. So I don't want to cause any fear. I see this stuff in the sky all the time, and I've seen it for years. So I don't know what's going on. This is the first one I've seen that's shaped like this. I just think that this is a part of our reality, and maybe it's time to start thinking about it. For years, people who are, pioneers in the consciousness field have lectured about how the visual range of human beings is really quite small relative to the frequency ranges of light. It's it's just really a tiny sliver. And so it doesn't surprise me that there might be things just slightly shifted. And this could even be, I feel this is most likely human technology. I'm not big on aliens being up in the sky. And on the blog, you'll see a series of recent, I think it still might, some of them might be on the front page, of articles that talk about just how advanced our technology was even 100 years ago. It was stunningly advanced compared to where we think it was. It was stunningly advanced. When you look at Tesla, Nikola Tesla, for example, there was stuff he was doing that we don't have today. That's more advanced than as consumers what we have. Anyway, you can read the articles. Who's to say what elite science, as I like to call it, may have come up with. And when I look at this in my heart and in my assessment, I set an intention that this is in alignment with the highest good, because I am a living human with a living soul, and I get to say that that's what I want in my reality, because my soul is of divinity, and therefore I have divine authority when I speak from that level, as do you when you speak from that level as a living incarnate human soul and a living incarnate in a living physical form, the human body. We get to say that, I choose for this to be in alignment with the highest good somehow. even though I can't tell you what it is. I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. We don't really know how time works. And as we proceed, we may find that time is slightly shifted. Because in my view, this is what I would call fourth dimensional technology. It's possible that there's a third dimensional type object there, but the cloak makes it fourth dimensional. I don't want to go into the details of why I feel that right now, but I have many articles on this blog about it. I would call the ability to see this an interference in the frequency match of the cloak and the ship. And the interference comes from a few factors. It could come from the fog, which is coming in, which is a different temperature, and probably, I think viscosity is probably the word. It might be a slightly different viscosity than high up clouds. It could be the angle of the sun at sunset, because the sun is actually in front and very far down below. It's somewhere down below these hills, okay? So it could be the angle of the sun shining upward that causes the interference in the frequency match of the cloak. Because see, with the cloak, if this is a cloaked object, what the cloak is attempting to do is match the surroundings, it's a frequency match, right? Match the patterns of the surroundings. And in this, which is adjusted, only the light is adjusted in the photograph to reveal the phenomena, something is interfering with the frequency match that completes the effectiveness of the cloak of this object. I have no fear, and maybe it's because I have faith, and maybe that's why I make inspiring videos and talk about God, because in my view, that's our strength as human beings. And the reason I feel that it's important to understand the non-physical and for regular human beings to understand the non-physical is because it will give us a leg up, a significant leg up. And it may even be more advanced from a consciousness perspective than whatever is operating this. Yes, I have come to that conclusion, that is possible. Depends, who, what, when, where. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you right now. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see this. I wish that this is a blessing.